Hello, everybody. Another day, another TA escalation game, and we should all be very excited for this one. I have with me two players, Lordvedor, the orange core commander going K-bot first, and Krogoth in the red, also core, going K-bot first. And I do have to say, I have not cast this map before. The title, I think, is Green Hills. And pretty neat. There's some metal in the water. You can see these spots. The title, I think, is plus 30, so mega energy if you want to use the water. And strangely, Krogoth building some radar bots and voyeurs early on. I don't really know what that's about. Typically, voyeurs aren't really used that much in general, but especially not at the start when it's so crucial to get those early game combat units out, like the Peewees and AKs. You generally want to invest as much income as you can into those units to kind of either do your own harassing or fend off your opponent. So to make two voyeurs early on is a very, very strange choice, very unorthodox. But, Krogoth is certainly a better player than I am. On that note, I have been playing a little bit with Lordvedor recently. None of the games are really worth showing you guys. He is still better than me, but I'm getting there. I think probably in a couple weeks I'll be able to beat Lordvedor. If he watches this video, he's probably shaking his head saying, no, you won't. You won't be beating me because you're a scrub. But no, either way, Lordvedor, a very cool guy, and Krogoth. Also, both of these are great players, and we're excited to see how they want to tackle this particular map. Now, on my last game, I couldn't speed it up. I could not speed up the match. As you guys, if you watched my last cast, the 4v4. And a lot of people were saying they liked that. They liked watching it at normal speed. So maybe we'll just keep it that way. Though, if you do want your game speed a little faster, I recommend that on YouTube you could increase the speed to 1.25 on YouTube, and that would speed it up for you. If things are going a little too slow for you, feel free to mess with the YouTube settings and speed up the game by yourself. But certainly, if I cast it on normal speed, it is easier for me to keep up with everything that's going on. In 1v1s, perhaps it's a little less hectic than the team games, but there is still plenty to talk about. And so, yeah, we're going to try casting it on normal speed and see how people like that, or if they just want to use the YouTube feature to speed it up on their own. That would be just fine with me. But both players going core, just spamming those AKs early on. That's nothing too out of the ordinary with that. And wind is pretty good on this map. I think it was like 18 to 30, so that's quite impressive. Energy generation option there. And we just got some AK battles here, some AK spam going on, but nothing too exciting there. It is interesting to see how the players like to tackle these kind of maps, because there is a lot of reclaim, and there's also some geos, and the geothermals are extremely efficient power supply, but of course they are very volatile. They blow up in a huge range. So, and interestingly, Krogoth has only built one generator. He's gone completely on solar collectors. So, differing styles in terms of the options, the resource options. I do think wind is probably better on this map. But yeah, here in the beginning, both players being relatively passive. I would expect on a map like this to see a lot more aggression from either player, but both of them maybe just feeling each other out, trying to control the mid a bit on Krogoth's side. And Lordvedor is going to push down, maybe try to get a little bit of harassment done here. That was a terrible arrow, but yeah, he might be able to take out this metal extractor. Yeah, he's definitely going to get that one. And can he get this one too? That's the question. He will get that second one. And now in MAKs in general are very, very strong against regular AKs. They have a greater range, and they do just unbelievable damage. Each shot practically killing an AK. In fact, each shot might actually just kill an AK from full health. Certainly once they get veterancy, that's probably true. But yeah, MAKs, a great counter to AKs. Especially if they're equal numbers. I guess if there's enough AKs, they can surround the MAKs. MAKs not having the most health. I think they have about 900 HP. So they certainly have more than AKs, but nowhere near as healthy as the Arm Warrior. So they can get surrounded by AKs if they're not careful. But it does look like it takes 2 shots to kill an AK. But that happens very quickly. You can see these AKs melting almost instantaneously to these powerful green lasers. So Lordvedor going to be forced to retreat. But wow, I'm really surprised Krogoth has barely expanded at all. Let's look in the water here. I sometimes do forget to turn this on. So this is where Krogoth is getting all his metal. He's gone underwater. That's and it's where he's getting his energy too. As I said, titles on this map give plus 30. So I have to say Krogoth being very clever here. These underwater metal extractors are practically invincible to T1 land. There's nothing that they can really build to get to these, and the tidal generators are equally almost impossible to get to. I mean, they could perhaps be hit by thuds or something, but Krogoth deciding to go the safer route, and Lordvedor as well, building some underwater metal extractors, though he hasn't built the tidal generators, and that is much to his chagrin because these tidal generators are extremely effective on this map, extremely resource efficient. So, interesting choice because as you can see, both players, it seems to have barely taken the map at all, barely taken the land. And instead, there's just a battle between AKs here at the top, red and orange. There is a light laser tower protected by some dragon's teeth as well. And as I said, these MAKs do a lot of damage, but they're also somewhat squishy for their cost. But they will easily take out that light laser tower. But now Rocco's. Rocco's a decent counter to MAKs. As you can see, they will outrange them. They need to keep the MAKs at a distance. Lordvedor very smartly building some crashers for vision. Let's try to... As you can see, the crashers have a larger vision radius, so the crashers will act as a spotter for the long-range storms, giving them the ability to deal their impressive T1 rockets, shoot their volleys at full range, because these crashers will provide that visual support. But the thing is, in the middle, these units aren't going to be too effective. There's so many trees here in the middle that they practically have to get into melee range. So, yeah, Lordvedor definitely want to kind of go around, go a different direction, perhaps this way. Either way, yeah, if he's going to use these storms to full effectiveness, he needs to kind of avoid that middle area. But certainly, storm's a decent counter to MAKs. Simply because they outrange them. And interestingly, Krogoth on vehicle second. And now going for that first Geo. So both players kind of playing this a bit slow, I would say. Neither of them doing anything spectacular, like, for example, building air. Bombing runs, early game bombing runs can be a very devastating option. Or even rushing T2 is not that uncommon on a map like this that has a decent amount of metal. A T2 rush would be very expected, I think. I've certainly played against players recently that love to rush their T2. Especially on maps like this with quite a distance between the two bases. You could definitely get away with it if you were sneaky enough, if you could hold your opponent off long enough to advance to the next tier of technology and then give yourself a big advantage. Krogoth going levelers here. The leveler's the riot tank. But I'm a little surprised that he's building these. The levelers are, they're more, well, given that they're called riot tanks, they're more designed for swarms of fast, short-range units like AKs and flashes and peewees. They're not really the greatest against storms in general because the storms can outrange them, and levelers also aren't the fastest unit either. They're not the fastest vehicle for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sold on the levelers. As you can see, they're just kind of getting kited by these rockets. They're not even really getting in range to fire their riot cannons. And just getting picked apart by Lordvedor's micro. Very nice micro by Vader to kind of dance in and out of range of Krogoth. Move forward. Get some volleys off, and then as soon as Krogoth turns around to chase him, he will retreat. Storms very strong at T1, of course, if you can micro them correctly. If you can keep them at their range, they will outrange most T1 units, and that is one difficult thing about playing against Vader. He does like to build his storms. And those can be difficult to deal with, even at T2. If you micro storms correctly, they can be very a devastating type of composition. But as I say that, Krogoth now heading to T2, and it's a little surprising that he's not reclaiming this vehicle plant. The vehicle plant in general didn't do that much. He built about 5-10 levelers, and they haven't really accomplished much. He's also built some slashers here. And we'll have to see what those do, but again, against storms, a slasher's not the best counter. And Lordvedor's still on the T1 game plan. He now, I think, has 3 K-Bot labs. Looking at the players' economies, they're almost even, but Lordvedor a little bit ahead, about 3 metal ahead per second. So it does look like Krogoth will be reclaiming that vehicle plant so he can finish his advanced, his T2 vehicle plant. And also building a shipyard. It's a little surprising. to build a shipyard on this map. Maybe he probably just wants to take over these metal spots. That's likely the only reason he's building that, is just to get a construction ship to take over these underwater metal resources and increase his economy. As I said, that is a decent option in this game. He's also built a shipyard down here, so yeah, Krogoth being very ingenuitive, it seems. Going to try to take these metal spots in the water. And that is a lot of storms. That is a perhaps even a critical mass of storms. So many that that Krogoth is going to struggle to deal with them, especially because he's got all these short-range units. But as I say that, he's bringing in some Manticore. The Manticore will, I think, outrange the storms even, but only if he micros them correctly. So, yeah, great job by Krogoth. Definitely kind of catching Lordvedor off guard and getting some damage done there, even with his levelers, which are in range, and his MAKs. So, yeah, Lordvedor lost about half his army there to these Manticore, and what was left of that T1 squadron. And to be honest, Manticore are pretty strong against this composition, but only if he micros them correctly. He doesn't want, Krogoth doesn't want to send these in one at a time. Certainly a mistake. He wants a death bowl of Manticores if he can. If you can get a little army of Manticore, a fleet, a Cormada of Manticore, that would probably be a better choice, because they do work well when they are packed tightly together and they can spam out their long-range homing missiles. But sending them in one at a time like this is probably not the best use of them, but they are still T2, of course, and they do have a decent amount of health, especially compared to Lordvedor's units. So now the question becomes, is Lordvedor, can he break this position? Krogoth now building Reapers. Reapers are, of course, much stronger units than Manticore, but they are shorter ranged as well. And that Reaper getting some work done. Really great job. This one Reaper, let's see how many kills. This one Reaper, 6 kills already, 7 kills, 8 kills. And I think it will finally go down, but it just accomplished a lot before it finally died. And slashers here in the back, but of course those are not the most effective against this composition. So yeah, this is kind of a crazy game. Krogoth on T2, but Lordvedor is on the T1 spam game plan, continuing to pump out Rockos and Thuds as if it were going out of style, and sort of just taking over the map. Krogoth is now taking over these underwater metal spots, as we mentioned earlier, and that should give him a nice economic boost. But will it be in time? That's my question. Krogoth now pumping out Reapers. And Reapers certainly very strong against T1 units. But only if you have enough of them, and Lordvedor can outrange these with the thuds, but the thuds, as you can see, also aren't the most accurate either. So this is kind of a bizarre game. Typically in this situation, if it were just a land map, Lordvedor would have already won because he has map control. He has so many more metal spots and such better control of the map. But because of this water aspect, because there's water, and because Krogoth still has an economy in the sea, he's able to stay in this game and keep producing units where in a typical scenario like this, he would pretty much be dead if it were just a land map. But because he has that water economy, he's able to stay in this game and keep producing T2 units. It's quite incredible, to be honest. And these Reapers, as it turns out, a decent counter to Storms and Thuds, especially if they can get enough of them. This Reaper now has 6 kills, 7 kills, 8 kills. So each one of these Reapers kind of worth their weight in gold there. So effective. If they once they get into range, they will simply tear these thuds apart. And this is just crazy. I mean, normally someone in Lordvedor's position would have already won the game, but that underwater metal economy keeping Krogoth going, allowing him to keep producing this T2 war machine. These Reapers that are so effective against T1 units. Yeah, Lordvedor gonna have to fall back here, I think. We've hit a critical mass of Reapers. And how many do we have here? 3, 6, 7, 8. 8 Reapers. That is a lot to deal with for Storms and Thuds. Certainly the Storms and Thuds outrange them, but these Reapers are also fast, and once they get into range of the T1 spam, they will be extremely effective. Additionally, Lordvedor doesn't want to fight in this middle area. All these trees will block their the missiles of those storms. So yeah, he definitely doesn't want to fight in the middle there. But yeah, these Reapers now making their way onto the west side of the map. We've got 5 down here and 3 up here. Lordvedor going to hit a wall. Of units. And these Reapers will eventually die in the north here, but here in the south, these 5 Reapers could be quite effective. We'll have to see. They are moving now into the north, and they will hit this wall of T1 spam. But ultimately, it is taking the Rockos and Thuds so long to kill these Reapers that they're just gaining veterancy. 13 kills on this one, 18 kills on this one. And every 5 kills, a unit gets even better stats, faster attack speed, and more damage, I believe. Maybe more health. So, yeah, Lordvedor finally giving up. I don't know if the game was over yet, but that was very impressive performance by Krogoth. Only able to stay in the game because he took all those pawns at the corners of the map. So even though he had almost no map control at all, he was able to pump out Reapers. Like I said, on a pure land map, he would have just lost because Lordvedor would have taken out all of his economy. But because his economy was underwater, he was able to continue producing. And a very ingenuitive strategy by Krogoth, and a great game between those two. But yeah, that is the power of getting a tech advantage over your opponent. And Krogoth does win that one. So I hope you enjoyed this game, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and on to the next one.